You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendall and Carl Dummler, Broncos Country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
Building the Broncos, or Broncos for Breakfast Part 2, a second breakfast for you Tolkien fans out there. But welcome in, guys. It's Tuesday night, running a little late, a little bit. I know typically we're pretty on time, but that's okay. You guys are fine. You're waiting for your Broncos, and hopefully this will be a show worth waiting for. Scott, how you doing, bud? How was dinner?
Dinner was good. I just got done eating. It was hot enough that I think I'm wiping beads of sweat off of my forehead, but burned my mouth trying to be in a hurry. But the things we do for love. So no, it's good to be here. I'm enjoying doing this. I'm looking forward to having Carl back, but while he's gone, it's an honor for me to fill in for him.
Yeah, we do miss Carl. It's a little bit touch and go right now with what his situation is as far as coming back to the U.S., but we'll cross that bridge when he gets there. He's fine. He's safe. Nobody panic. Nobody send the National Guard or whatever the heck would go on over there. He's good, but we'll see what happens there. But guys, yeah, let's get right into it before we even get to the Super Chats. Of course, this is Building the Broncos. Every Tuesday night, we're going to be going live at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, God's time. Typically, it'll be Carl and myself, but today it's Scott and me. You can follow us both on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy and myself at Nick Kendall MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at BTB Football Pod as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you guys like the gear, like the stuff going on, I need to get the Broncos for Breakfast gear going on. We got to get those mugs, Chad, at some point. But the guys, go to huddleuppod.com, get your swag on. I got the Building the Broncos hat right now. Going to be getting that Broncos for Breakfast hat very soon as well. I'm very happy that it's black too, because it goes with all my Iowa Hawkeye stuff as well. So now I don't have to just run home and change so that way I'm wearing the navy blue with the black. That's very upsetting to me when people do that. So I make sure not to do that.
Lots of blue in the closet. Lots
of blue.
With the bluish background, I try and go black though a lot of the times.
Yeah. My grandfather-in-law recently passed, but he always would say any color as long as it's blue. So I try to live by that. So that's a good phrase. Guys, also follow us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Become a supporter. And for you YouTube listeners, please subscribe, like, and share. Leave a comment on YouTube. That way you guys know when we go live and you can join us. And we got shows every single weeknight and every Tuesday and Thursday morning. So plenty of content for you guys, something always new going on this channel. And obviously talking about stuff that's new and going on. Scott, we have a giveaway that's winding down here pretty soon.
Yeah, we're getting close. The idea was 100%, 250,000 stars, and they will raffle off the Justin Simmons jersey like they did the Von Miller jersey, won by Howie frickin' Day. I just like saying that. Appreciate that. Won it last month, and 96% complete with 10% of the month left. I feel good about this one. Just under 10,000 stars left. If you look at the top this month for top stars, you see Samisi Muti, Michael Ranquillo, Randy Jones. We scroll down just a little bit more. We got Zeus McPeak. I still feel bad calling him Zeus. I do not like calling people by their nicknames unless I know them, but I feel like I know Zeus, so that's close enough. Joshua Shadow, Travis Weber, Gary Leeds Palmer, big supporter of all of our shows, Chris Hernandez, Peter Middleton, and Claude Riley rounding up the top 10. Now, in order to be eligible for the raffle, you need to have at least 500 stars. And on YouTube, I don't have that the top 5 hasn't changed if you've watched that. The top 5, if you make the top 5 on YouTube, you will be included in the raffle as well. So we're not forgetting our YouTube audience. And the here we go. Michaela Parker, Chris Hernandez, Mark Langley, Stu Zeus McPeak, and Christy. I don't know Christy's last name, but she goes by KR on here. So and then just outside of the top 5, Seth, Brian, Naj, Kiaka. So it's been a good month with Mile High Huddle and all of the different channels and avenues that we produce content on. And it's been a good month for the Broncos. 3-0, some Broncos better than others. Isn't that right, Nick? Hello, Nick. Nick? Did Nick freeze up on me? Did I freeze up on everybody else? He looks awfully still there, doesn't he? So, someone want to type in the chat and say, hey, Scott, you're good, but Nick's frozen up again. That's what's going on with the Facebook and YouTube. So, appreciate you coming in. And, Nick, are you back with me?
Listen up, Broncos country. TickPick should be your first choice to buy football tickets because they save fans money by never charging any service fees ever. TickPick is the exclusive ticketing partner for the Huddle Up podcast and the Blue Wire Network.
Denver Broncos football is finally back, and there's no need to exhaust yourself searching all over the internet to find Broncos tickets anymore, because TickPick, that's TickPick, is the original no-fee ticket site and the only one you'll ever need as your go-to for all NFL tickets. TickPick got rid of all those awful service fees that the other ticket sites charge, which lets them guarantee the best prices on all of their NFL tickets. Don't believe it? If you can find better prices for the same seats on another ticket site, TickPick will give you 110% of the difference in the purchase price.
That's right, guys. When we were searching for tickets for the MHH meet and greet for week 3 at home, Broncos versus Jets, TickPick had us locked down. So visit tickpick.com/huddle today and use the promo code HUDDLE to save $10 on your first order of Broncos tickets.
Handily, I might add. And it sounds like Nick is back with us.
Oh, man. Went missing in action there for 1 second. The internet, sometimes, especially around 5 o'clock, I think everybody gets on. And
Rush hour at Nick's house.
Yeah, things just kind of fall apart. But we're here. We're doing okay. We're hanging on. And that's something the Broncos have not been doing so far. They've been beating these teams handily. I heard what you were talking about there. And what I love, and this is something that, somebody being involved in the game and talking with coaches over the time, especially at the lower levels, high school and college, Broncos right now, they're still a young offense, and they're doing something right now where they're winning football games pretty handily, and they're still making mistakes, and they're having very coachable moments in these wins where it's not even that close, right? Like Javonte Williams, Noah Fant, both these guys making mistakes in this last game, didn't have great games. And you got Quinn Miners not having the best game either in limited action. And Tane Moody had a solid game. But these guys, they're learning as they go, and they're making mistakes, but they're not costing the Broncos games right now. And the coaches can come back and say, see, look what you did right here. XYZ, you got to do ABC. And we're still winning, but now they have stuff that they can correct. So it's honestly the best case scenario for a coach that's trying to build something with this team, which is what's obviously happening here for this team this season.
Yeah, leading up to the playoffs, you might see a team bump their toe, and lose a game or something like that. And you hear coaches say all the time, honestly, that's the best thing that could have happened to us. It brings everybody back onto a level and says, we're not that great. We've talked about this before, Nick, where you don't need that now. It's only 3-0. You're not saying, oh, yeah, I'll also be okay. No, you always want to win all your games. But what you're saying is there's mistakes being made and you're still winning. So you still have those teachable moments without having to actually lose the game. So, yeah, you can turn a negative into a positive pretty easily.
Yep, and if these guys are playing perfect, what are the coaches even going to say to them? You got to keep these guys engaged and moving forward, and hopefully you're going to see that with this team. But speaking of moving forward, I did see there was a $10 super chat, but because I had to leave and come back, it's gone now. I don't know if you have the ability to pull
find it on. I was just looking. I'll find it. I'll find it, and we'll drop it in there real quick. So if you can monologue for 60 seconds, I'll find it.
We got Nathan here too, coming in here. Nathan Leetuala coming in here. Thank you very much, Nathan. $2 over on YouTube. And he says, man, I love this comment so much. The pettiness is brilliant. Hope McManus wins the game Sunday with a 67-yard field goal. Just outdoing Justin Tucker, who just broke the Broncos, Matt Prater's 64-yard field goal record just recently. That would be hilarious. Of course, the Ravens fans and faithful would say, well, it doesn't count. Because it was at mile high air, right? The ball will travel a little bit farther there, but
news for you. They all count.
They all count, just like beating the Jets, Jags, and Giants. They might be 0-9 combined, but those wins count just the same in the stats column as beating Chiefs or Tampa Bay or anything like that. So they count. But thank you so much for your comment, Nathan. I'm here for it. I don't want a game that close. I want the Broncos to come in here and punch the Ravens, because a lot of people, the Broncos are a joke right now, as much as a 3-0 team can be a joke, right? Like, oh, they haven't played anybody. I've seen the memes out there. Everybody's seen the memes. If they come out here and stifle the Ravens and beat them by, a touchdown plus, people can be like, okay, Denver's here. This defense is real. Teddy Bridgewater steering the ship. This team can hang with about anybody.
Yeah, there was I didn't see the other super. I don't know. I think we may have been seeing things. So if you happen to get one, hit us up on Twitter or something. But I checked the back end, and so far the only one I saw was Nathan on there. I honestly think that Denver's holding some back. I really do.
Totally.
They haven't had to show everything. Do you really? It's like, we'll go in and kick a field goal. I'm okay with that. We'll extend the lead again and again and again, and not show everything we have to show. I firmly believe the Broncos have been holding back because they've been dominating these games. Even if it's not on the scoreboard where you're winning a college football style, 70-3. As far as the NFL go, these have been 3 of the most dominant consecutive victories you're going to find.
Yeah. And advanced analytics even say that the Broncos should have been won by more. I mean, they've left points on the field, and there's been some fluky touchdowns given up as well. You have Alberto Cuebanam fumbling the ball with goal-to-go situation. You have Javonte Williams fumbling it on 1st and 3 from the New York Jets 3. I mean, that's a touchdown, right? That should be a touchdown. You got 3 chances.
2, and on a small sample size, 14 points is a lot.
Yep, and then you have the 100-plus yard kickoff return. I mean, you're going to see you won't see that again this year. Probably everyone knock on wood, because Denver's deep special teams is a wild ride. But you're probably not going to see another special teams touchdown given up by the Broncos. So that's another fluky one. And then Daniel Jones running in as the clock expires, as the game is over. I mean, that's 28 points right there. That could have gone the opposite way. So while the Broncos will play nobody, they're whipping these teams right now. It's not like
that's 10 points a game.
Yeah,
10 points. That's a lot of points. Claude, as Claude Riley says here, with this appreciate the stars, Claude, a win is a win. Go Broncos.
Yep, it's not like college football where you have to, impress the selection committee or anything like that. The beauty pageant of winning big. They all count the same in the NFL. You don't have to Broncos don't have to apologize to anybody for beating the teams that are in front of them.
Start talking about winning and Gino Torretta, or not Gino Torretta. I was trying to go with a Fast and the Furious reference where he goes with winning, but I blew it.
It's okay. That's okay. Another one here. KJ Hamler dropped a touchdown that first game. Did the Broncos go on to score a point still on that drive, though? Otherwise, if they didn't, then that's another 7. If they still went on to score points, then is what it is.
I don't think so. I think they ended up punting on that drive. I don't remember for sure. Didn't matter. And that's the thing is, it didn't matter. You dominated that game.
Yep.
Just dominated it. Okay, and Jeremy says it was a long touchdown TD on that one.
Okay.
But like I said, I don't remember because it didn't affect the game really.
Yeah.
Dom Torretta, thank you. Gino was a quarterback.
There we go.
Dominic. It was Dominic, not Gino. Gino was a Heisman winning trophy quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes. Dominic Torretta was Vin Diesel lead in Fast and the Furious, and like you said, winning's winning.
Yep. And Kenneth is right here. Judy got hurt on the next play. So luckily Judy will be coming back at some point. I'm excited to see what David Moore can do as well. And I know there was a lot of, I'll just call it out. There's a lot of hand wringing with the Broncos trade of Trinity Benson, but you got a 5th round pick back and maybe even a better wide receiver in David Moore that you picked up off the practice squad. I mean, you can find wide receiver 4s and 5s in the league pretty constantly right now. Now getting those top guys, and the Broncos should be okay, especially with Judy coming back. Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick, and now David Moore. Losing KJ Hamler sucks. Like, no doubt about it. He's a unique player, but you can find deep wide receivers.
Here's the interesting question. The Carolina Panthers are 3-0, and they're paying about half of the Denver Broncos salary too. So they're funding 2 3-0 teams this year. Yeah. So Carolina, good on you. Appreciate it. You guys could be really good, really, really good if you spend all that money on your own team.
Yeah, no, that's true. They are 3-0. They look pretty good. That defense looks good. They just got a good trade also. Bringing in CJ Henderson for a 3rd, which, I mean, CJ Henderson's had
that's given up. Now, if you're a quarterback, you get 2 number 1s out of that. But since you're a cornerback, they were trying to get rid of. That's a pretty good risk. I mean, that's a pretty good risk reward to send a 3rd for him, who went 10? 9? Okay, went 9 just a year ago.
9. Yep, because the Broncos were picking. No, who was picking 10? 10 was maybe the Browns.
AJ Terrell went pretty quick right 16. After that, but I don't remember if he went 10 to the Falcons. Yeah,
I think Terrell went 16, which was great because that's who the Raiders won, and they ended up taking Damon Arnett, who has been terrible. Which is I'm all about the Raiders making bad picks. I saw somebody earlier before my internet completely went out saying, "Oh man, it'd be great to see the Broncos and the Raiders play a 5-0, 5-0 versus 5-0 in a couple weeks." No, it wouldn't. Screw the Raiders. You think I'm cheering for the Raiders to win 2 games? You're out of your damn mind.
You don't have to worry about getting people to tune into a game. This is the NFL. People are watching the NFL.
I hope the Raiders are 3-2. Hell, I wish they're 2-3. I hope the NFL takes away a win of theirs. They didn't deserve it. So that's what I'm about here. I cannot stand the Raiders.
So how much have you watched? Because the other person that got signed with the two guys going on IR was David Moore, the wide receiver. David Moore got signed to the practice squad either yesterday or the day before, and got signed to the full squad again. And that's who I was referencing. He got $1.2 million signing bonus, and I don't think he played a snap for Carolina. So they're paying. He's sitting there counting his money from Carolina while he's playing for the Panthers, same as Teddy Bridgewater. I haven't watched him a ton. I can just look at the basics. 6 foot, 215 pounds. That's a big receiver. That's running back size and a wide receiver skill set. And then I can look at the numbers and do all that stuff. But you guys are watching this on the internet. You can too. As far as a legit scouting report, I haven't watched him a ton. So Nick, I don't know if you have either.
I watched him at Seattle. I think the Broncos got him off the Raiders practice squad because the Panthers cut him when they went down to 53. And I think he's been a pretty good receiver. He's somebody that they had him and they were using a lot of 11 personnel in Seattle. And he was like a good number 3 wide receiver, but not one that you wanted to be your number 3, right? Like, it's like, oh man, I just wish I had one more quality guy above him, because if he could be that guy off the bench, that'd be incredible. But like, he's not that tier where you want him to be one of your top 3. So
yeah, and $2 million, $2 million a year is decent money for a number 3 type of guy, where you're hoping that guy's as you like to say all the time, a cost controlled draft pick. Yeah. As your number 3. So I can see where they make, let's pay $600,000 a year for the next 2 years, spread that across, lose 1.2 million instead of 4 for a guy we'd rather have down the road. But for the Broncos right now, it certainly makes a lot of sense. And Jelly, appreciate that. Feels like a new name. So Jelly, I appreciate the super chat there. And Butch coming in right after Jelly with the stars.
Thanks, Butch.
And then right after Butch, my chat just jumped, but it was Gary. Gary came in here and dropped a bunch of stars too. So I think we needed about 100,000 stars today to get goal. And I think that's about 12%. So we're only 18 minutes in. So we got a chance to get goal today with 2 days to spare.
Let's do it, baby. I love it. Gary Leeds Palmer, love you too, buddy. When we beat the Ravens, I love Gary for just the confidence here. Hey, Gary and Ernie Mays, man, confident as hell. I love it. The conversation will change. Get those stars in. Go Broncos. Beat the Ravens. I think that the Broncos, even if they win, let's say last second field goal, people will be like, okay, Broncos beat the Ravens at home. They're for real. They're here to stay. They're for real. Obviously, the Broncos can't keep dropping like flies on the injury front to stay real, but that's a different conversation entirely. But I think the way this defense is playing right now, with how they're leaving points in left field, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is playing as good as any quarterback in football right now. He'd be in the MVP conversation if he came in with more pomp and circumstance or touchdowns, where the Broncos are just right now handing it off, which is fine. But he's killing it. I mean, they should be in the conversation.
That's a good point, because it's not – his numbers are good. But you start talking intangibles. You start looking for a reason not to give it to the same 2 or 3 guys every year. And what Teddy is doing with this team and how he's being talked about with the leadership and, the solidarity, he would absolutely, he actually would be one of the front runners for MVP right now with the numbers that he's putting up as well. So that's a good shout. Andrew coming in with the stars. What up, Nick and Scott? Would have loved to see you guys at the meet, but had a hell of a time. We weren't there, so you didn't miss us. We missed you. We missed not seeing y'all. And next time we do this, I'm looking forward to try and get out there. I was Delta Platinum living in Atlanta and LA for like 10 straight years. And I haven't been on a plane in almost 2 years. So I need to go somewhere that I can't just drive. So I think the last time I was on a plane was January of 2020. So it's been a few, Andrew, and appreciate the contribution.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And I'm from the Midwest, so if it's under 24 hours, it's drivable. That's just the rule. But I appreciate that, Andrew. Next time we'll try to get out there. I'm definitely going to get tickets, as long as it doesn't fall on a gosh darn wedding. I have like 3 fall weddings in 2022, unfortunately. But and I love you, Alyssa, my sister.
You're that age.
Let's
see. Give it about 8 more years, and you'll be having the round of second weddings from all the divorces that happen in the next 4 years.
Yeah, that's we're gonna think happy thoughts though right now. But yeah, no, definitely we'll try to get out there.
Unfortunately, once you start getting into your late 40s and early 50s, you get together for much less happy situations. Is the only time you seem to see everybody. Then the funerals start coming, unfortunately. So walk of life. All right, let's bring this up. Here we go. Let's sorry to put a bummer on that one, but Base Case really comes in with a super says, who are your top 5 QBs for the 2022 draft? Really hoping we draft Matt Corral, as I'm assuming it's Corral and not Coral. See, I'm better with the Spanish names. They actually make sense as an heir to Teddy. What do you think about that?
I think Matt Corral right now is my number 1 quarterback in this upcoming draft. Nick Saban was heaping praise on him today. I'm stoked beyond belief for that Ole Miss Alabama game that's coming up this week. I know that Ole Miss has had a week to prepare as well, so that should be a lot of fun. But Matt Corral, right? I mean, he's a good athlete. He's really twitched up, which I love for my quarterback. You know, his movements are just boom, boom, boom. And he's got a live arm as well. He is way too much of a gunslinger sometimes. I think he had like a 6 interception game or a 5 interception game last year, where they got behind and he was just like, okay, I'm gonna throw it away like constantly. But he has the tools and he's right now probably the Heisman front runner as well. So he's been really good. Other quarterbacks, I really do like Malik Willis. I saw that Bo Nix got benched also talking about Auburn. So they let Malik Willis go.
You know, I was thinking about you because you're the one that told me that, you know, someone put him as the number 1 overall. I'm like, that person should never be allowed to write mocks evaluations ever again. I don't even know who it was. I don't care. But that should never happen. I mean, come on now. That's just crazy.
But some other quarterbacks, I'm not sure if he's eligible yet, but Tua Tagovailoa's brother is killing it at Maryland right now. So he's one to watch out for as well. He's probably the best quarterback in the Big Ten this year. I'm not the biggest Keaton Slovis guy. I think Desmond Ritter is fine. I don't love him. Sam Howell, fine. I don't love him. I love the tools of the quarterback, Spencer Rattler. Mm-hmm. He's been playing like a dumb idiot this year.
He plays the game really cocky. You know, and it's okay to play the game with arrogance, but he's really like super lazy with some of the things he does. Like, you know, I'm just going to start him. If you picture the worst version of what you just saw from Zach Wilson, like his worst throws, it's very similar to what you see with Spencer Rattler, where it's just like, I've got so much arm talent that I can do whatever I want to do. And that's a bad way to go. As soon as you said 6 interceptions for Corral, I cringed just a little bit. I'm like, that sounds like another former Denver quarterback who played in the SEC named Jay Cutler, who I have often referred to as the dumbest smart guy I ever scouted. So I'm not going to make that comment on Corral yet until I see some of the circumstances around it. But seeing a guy play and trying to elevate a team that isn't as good as he is talent-wise, and I don't know if Jay Cutler has just always been like that or if he just got in some bad habits at Vanderbilt that he could never get out of. But he always tried to do too much, and that never stopped. He never grew out of that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Jay Cutler, really toolsy, kind of a talk around Denver. It's that he enjoyed to partake in extracurriculars off the field as well that were the types that make you stay home and eat Lay's potato chips. So Denise Phillips coming in here with the Facebook comment
the stars. Appreciate you, Denise.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate that, and man, you guys are inching us close to to that star goal. So keep them coming. We appreciate it. I think we do have to talk about our main topic today, which was Brett Rypien being elevated to the Broncos active roster, which is good for Brett. He is a future coach in this league. We see a lot of people making jokes about Kellen Moore, who's the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys right now, that they should just fire Mike McCarthy at half and give the job to Kellen Moore because the offense for Dallas is great. And Mike McCarthy is just a kind of a rambling bloke. I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's not PG, but not the best. Did you watch the game last night where he did not take the timeout? I mean, what the heck is he doing? The refs even hey, you don't take a timeout here.
I watched the middle parts of it until the Dallas got one of their touchdowns and made it like 31-14 or something, where it made it 3 scores. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I can't get that late.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts had a great game against the Falcons, but it's fallen off quickly since then. So we'll see what happens from there. But we want to talk a little bit about Brett Rypien, and we have the comment here. I think Mike Kliss quoted this one as well. saying that it's from J Tust at KTB or KTVB Sports Guy on Twitter, working for down there in Texas, in Houston, saying, according to a source, the Texans were the ones who showed interest in Denver quarterback Brett Rypien, escalated quickly, forcing the Broncos to make a decision. Rypien, who's in his third NFL season, has appeared in 3 games for Denver and is 1-0 as a starter. I think Benjamin Albright also said that it was Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns showed interest as well. I'm not sure exactly how accurate that one is. I feel like that one kind of got walked back when it came out that it was actually the Texans. But either way, Brett Rypien now on the active roster. The Broncos have 3 quarterbacks. Any thoughts here? I mean, obviously Brett Rypien we haven't seen that much of him. He's very, very limited in what he can do. Very smart guy. The Broncos rave about him being like an extra coach in the quarterback room, but probably not a guy you want to see on the field.
Well, I think, there we go. That's what it is right there. James has the answer, and this is what it's all about. We're going to trade Brett Rypien for Deshaun Watson straight up. No, just kidding. Does it make sense? Do you do sign and trades? Now that he's elevated, now if you want him, send us a 6th or a 7th. You're not going to get him for nothing. We'll pay him a week's game check. If you want him, we want something for it. So that makes sense to me. I mean, he's not going to play. Why have him on the active roster? It costs you had an open spot anyway, but it makes sense to me that now you can have a trade for it. You're not going to get him for nothing. We'll sign him, and then you can send us a draft pick. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me as well. Do you think that this means anything for Drew Lock? I know a lot of people were like pointing at like, oh man, trade Drew Lock. I know there's a lot of memes of Drew Lock like in the Steelers uniform or an Eagles uniform or a Texans uniform. Any thoughts about potentially moving Lock now?
No, I don't think it means anything. What's the minimum NFL salary right now? It's like $600,000. So divide that by 17 weeks. You're talking $50,000 a week. So, in soccer, they talk about getting paid for the week. So he's $50,000 a week that you can now trade him and get a draft pick for it. And how long does it take you to do that? Is it worth that much in order to get that pick back? So it wouldn't surprise me. That'd be my guess. That's what makes the most sense to me. Does it mean anything for Drew Lock? No. Brett, you can run Drew Lock out there as a starter and feel pretty good about it. You can't say the same thing for Brett Rypien. If Drew Lock was gone and Teddy Bridgewater goes down, you're in trouble. You're in deep trouble. And this doesn't have any impact at all, in my opinion, on Drew Lock.
I agree with you completely. This is a Broncos team that is 3-0 right now. However, the schedule is about to get much tougher going forward. I think Sharp Football Analytics have the Broncos having the hardest schedule in football going forward, which are at least one of the top, more difficult schedules for the Broncos.
Well, you got a 3-game cushion already.
Yes, exactly. That's what you look at it.
You go 3-6 over the next 9, and you're 500, and you're right there in the playoff hunt with 5 games to go. Sorry, where's my math? Jesus. Yeah, that was right.
No, you're right. I was going to say,
that was right.
1.
Yeah, that was right. I was like 9 games minus 17. That's 8 games. No, we already played 3. Dum. So that you're right there in the hunt. So you got a 3-game cushion. Thank you. Good job.
Exactly.
Andrew comes in with the stars again. Appreciate you, Andrew. Says, luckily we had depth, but now our depth needs depth. So where do we go? And that's something that Nick and I have talked about a lot, is you're still better off at almost every position than most NFL teams. I mean, you've got 2 stud wide receivers right now.
Mm-hmm. Who another one coming.
There's that happens in a lot of different places, but there's a lot of teams that don't have 2 stud receivers. There's only one football.
Yep.
Noah Fant is still a good receiver. Okwuegbunam is still a good receiver. I screwed that up. You got two good coming out of 2 good running backs right now. You can get a guy that can replace the production of KJ Hamler, maybe not the fear factor of KJ Hamler. But now if there's another injury, now you're getting nervous. Now I'm nervous about injuries. Before it's like, okay, if we have some injuries, we have depth. Well, now we've got injuries, and now we don't have depth. Now another injury could be devastating. And, at some of the key positions, especially linebacker and wide receiver. Yep.
No, you're 100% correct. That's luckily most of these guys are going to come back. Josie Jewell and KJ Hamler right now are the only truly impactful season-ending IR injuries. But you have to, keep everything going forward right now. You're waiting for those guys to come back. So hopefully it will not be detrimental. But this is where your coaches, this is where your NFL league, the league scouts, not the college scouts, but the NFL scouts make their money, right? Like going out and signing David Moore. That was a NFL scout saying like, okay, we evaluate this guy out of the practice squad. This is the guy that fits what we believe the coaches want to do. That's the most talented that we can get. And they go out there and get him.
It's also nice having a little room in the salary cap too. You know, having a little flexibility to go out and maybe spend a little bit more on a guy if you need. You see it happen a lot in baseball these days. You know, where a guy overprices himself in free agency and sits out until the summer. He's like, okay, now I'm ready to come in for $5 million instead of $10 million. But now you've got some flexibility to do that type of stuff too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You're correct. And just came to mind, somebody asked about the top 5 quarterbacks for next year. Also, a couple guys that I meant to mention, but I was just trying to rattle them off my head. Not rattler them off my head, but Carson Strong for Nevada is one that I've been impressed with. He's not fleet that I love for the quarterback position, but he's got arm talent. He can sling the ball around. He's very fun. And a couple guys that are rising in the outside the Power 5 there's Jake Hayner from Fresno State, who had just an incredible game at UCLA. I like him a lot. And then Western Michigan has Caleb Ellaby, who's impressed me a lot as well. So there's some names to watch. And obviously with Teddy Bridgewater, 1-year contract, Drew Lock losing the starting job, been up and down in his career. You know, it's definitely something to think about. Right now I'm on the edge rusher, tackle, or cornerback train, but quarterback's always there.
Well, and you know, we've talked a little bit about that wide receivers starting to become more of a need as well. You know, instead of I think we talked about this. We talk a lot yesterday morning. This morning was that
the
just
days
this
run
morning?
Together?
You know, about maybe it's worth taking a receiver in the middle rounds every draft, but now maybe instead of a 5th, you become 3rd. Maybe instead of a 4th, you might move him up to the end of the 2nd.
Yeah. And it always depends on like the guy that fits the skill set you want, how your board falls, et cetera, et cetera. You never want to go into the draft and be like, okay, we have to come out with position X, because if the board doesn't fall that way, you're going to take a bad player and you're going to end up like the Raiders taking Damon Arnett when you wanted just a cornerback. You're going to take AJ Terrell and poof, he's gone. So go ahead, Scott. You can go get some water. It's all good.
All this talking, my voice is going to give out. I finished my water already. I'll be right back, y'all.
Yeah, no issues there. Scott also was having some very hot spring rolls before he joined us today, so got to cool down. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit of KJ Hamler, and it's really unfortunate for the Broncos to lose KJ Hamler. He's still only 22 years old, but the facts are this is the 2nd ACL on the same knee, and also it was not just the ACL. There was some other stuff. Now, just medically speaking, it probably is a damage to the LCL as well. And that is the same injury that Robert Griffin suffered that really caused him to just lose a lot of explosiveness in that knee. So we're probably not talking a 12-month recovery for KJ Hamler. We might be talking, 12 or 16 months, 18 months. So you may have to just totally reevaluate what your position is for wide receiver position going forward. That could impact what you're doing with Tim Patrick. That could impact what you're doing with Cortland Sutton, free agency in the draft. So it sucks for KJ Hamler, but I'm guessing we might not see him, fingers crossed, but we won't know until we get closer to where we have to actually make decisions. But I'm not really counting on KJ Hamler to be an impact player potentially until 2023. And that sucks.
That's even that, because we talk about the receiver position. We said, an injury to a bigger receiver isn't going to affect him as much because his size is still his greatest asset. But when speed and quickness is your biggest asset, tearing up that knee twice is it's going to be tougher. You lose 5% from what you were, and you're only at 95% with the small margins at the NFL. I mean, that could be enough. So, prayers going out for KJ Hamler that his recovery goes well and he's able to go out and still have a very productive career. But he's going to have some tough days ahead of him for sure. Jelly comes back in. Appreciate you. That double dipping. Jamie Collins is a free agent now. Any thoughts on him, Nick?
Jamie Collins looks old and slow and is detrimental in coverage, and I'm not sure that he fits what the Broncos are looking for from the linebacker position. I wouldn't be shocked if he crawls his way back to the Patriots or ends up in a Bill Belichick disciple defense with the Miami Dolphins. But I'm more interested in seeing what Micah Kiser can do at the linebacker position than spending that cap money at there, or not just Micah Kaiser, obviously Justin Stranad and Alexander Johnson there, but I don't have any interest in Micah Kaiser to be completely, or excuse me, Jamie Collins to be completely honest. I thought he's looked toast for a few years, and I'm not looking to spend money, just spend money. You're going to need it this offseason. You got quarterback questions, you got Von Miller questions, you got wide receivers that you got to pay. So I want to hold on to that cap. Seth, also linebacker is a position where like it's good to have depth there, but it's not like you're rotating those guys crazy like you are your defensive line, your cornerbacks, your wide receivers. So I don't know if it's worth it to spend that much money on a guy who might not even be a starter for you. Seth Harmon coming in. I love that orange $20 super chat over on YouTube. What do you guys think of Golden Tate's production would look like in Denver? Apparently there's some stuff off the field that has some issues for Golden Tate. That people are avoiding him right now. That's one of the reasons that he's not signed right now, it sounds like. So I think he would be fine in Denver. I think he's a very fun player as well. Like I really enjoyed watching him at Notre Dame when he was there, and I thought he had some good years with the Seahawks and Detroit and everything. And he had a great year with Pat Shurmur with the New York Giants as well. But I think the Broncos signing David Moore is probably, unless there's a setback with KJ Hamler or God forbid something happens to one of the other wide receivers, maybe then you talk about that and overlook some of the issues, because like somebody like Emmanuel Sanders wasn't the saint for the Broncos. If you can play ball, you can play ball, as long as they're not committing felonies, I guess. But yeah.
He's also 11 years, 700 catches later. How much tread's left on the tire for Golden Tate for again, a bigger receiver can lose a step. And Golden Tate, I remember scouting him in high school, and he reminded me of one of my all-time favorite SEC receivers, Josh Reed, who y'all might not remember at all, but he played the receiver position like a running back with hops, really good after the catch. And he ended up becoming a much better pro than Josh Reed ever was. But that was, I remember seeing him play, which tells me he's old. If I scouted him in high school, that means he's old now, because I've been doing this for a long time. 11 years. He's 32 years old. I'm looking at it now. He's 33. Just turned 33 August 2nd. So production, 25 catches, 450 yards, somewhere in that neighborhood. Is that worth bringing him in, or are you better off trying somebody else?
I'm happy with David Moore. Honestly, I'm pretty excited to have him in here. And Jerry Jeudy's coming back. I think if you can go through these next 3 games where the Broncos are, let's say, 5-3, 5-2, whatever. Whatever the trade deadline is, and you're looking at a team that Jerry Jeudy's coming back slowly. We want to get another weapon out there. We have an extra 5th to play with because of the Trinity Benson trade. Maybe then you're talking about bringing somebody in via trade, but I don't know, man. Any wide receiver or skill position player that's over that 30-year-old mark, and you're taking away from your rollover for next year when you need that cap space, it just makes me a little hesitant. I know he's a name, but I'm a little hesitant there. And I also saw,
he's still a name, but the production, 2 years with the Giants, that's not necessarily all on him, but I think he's less than 50 catches. The production's gone down. He's not the same Golden Tate. And again, he plays the game almost like a running back, that there's, I'll just repeat myself. There's only so much tread left on that tire. And is he the right guy to bring in? Real quick, Chase Wellner and getting the whole ball. That ball is your home. Adam Sandler avatar. I love it. It says, Scott, how's Matt Hennessy been so far? For those of y'all that don't know, Matt is a center for the Atlanta Falcons. He's been below average, which means he's been one of the better offensive linemen for the Falcons. He's been okay. Nothing to write home about. He needs to be better. If the Falcons are going to do better, he's got to be better. And that's pretty much across the line, the entire line. He's been okay. Nothing too awful, but not very good either. Appreciate the super chat. And Nick and I will be on to talk Falcons tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to talk Falcons Giants. So we'll go over some of the previous opponent for the Broncos and the Giants. And then we will look forward to the Washington football team as the Falcons finish with 3 in a row. They play 3 NFC teams East in a row because they've already played the Eagles. They get the Giants, and then they get WFT next week. So appreciate you, Chase.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chase. And I think somebody asked also any wide receivers to watch in the upcoming draft. I was looking for the comment where you're talking. I could not find it, but I'll be fully honest with you guys. I'm a full-blown Big Ten homer. I watch a lot of Big Ten football. Yeah, you can be.
So you don't get to see many receivers then, is what you're saying?
The Big
No,
Ten
I'm
this
kidding.
year, I
I'm
would say,
kidding.
has
I'm kidding.
yeah. But this year specifically, I think the three of the best wide receivers in college football play in the Big Ten. Obviously, you have both Ohio State guys in Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. But there's two really underrated wide receivers in the Big Ten right now. And you watched the Auburn Penn State game. Jahan Dotson, number 5 for Penn State. That dude just made plays constantly. He's really a talented wide receiver.
I was more watching it from an Auburn point of view where I'm like, does Penn State keep screwing around when this guy's throwing 95% and they can't put any pressure on him? Why are they running trick plays and doing stuff?
Yeah.
That wasn't Tony Franklin? Golly,
James Franklin.
James Franklin. Tony Franklin was like New England Patriots quarterback in like the class of 83 or something. See what happens when you get older and all these names start going together. I can't believe these 6-year-old announcers can pull it off, honestly. But what I was joking about the speed because 4.4 guys can come from anywhere. They come from anywhere. It doesn't matter. Skill position players are fast all over the place. When you hear the term SEC speed, which everybody rolls their eyes on, they're like, well, we got a guy that runs a 4.35. Yeah, he's fast. SEC speed is in the front 7. The difference between SEC speed versus other speed is in your defensive tackles, defensive end, and linebackers. That's where the speed comes from when you hear the phrase SEC speed. Not cornerbacks and receivers. Everybody has fast cornerbacks and receivers.
Yep, it's the NFL big boys that's making the SEC up there. But the other wide receiver that I like a lot that's caught my attention watching Maryland is Dante Demas Jr. So another guy to watch out for there if you're looking for maybe a wide receiver to keep an eye on. I want to talk a little bit also. John Brown, he's somebody who the Broncos maybe have been linked with as well. I think, again, probably not likely now that David Moore is here. John Brown has tried around a few teams so far this year. He's another one who's over 30. He has had injuries. He also has sickle cell trait, not full-blown sickle cell anemia, but sickle cell trait, which could deter the Broncos or him from coming to Denver. He did play in Denver before he found out he had sickle cell trait, but still, it's something that you have to take at least put that in. It's a variable when you're deciding if you want to bring him in or not.
Well, I'm trying to look up the Falcons team stats because he was brought in for a workout with the Atlanta Falcons. And let me see if I can find their leading receiver. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Receiving. The leading receiver is Calvin Ridley with 175 yards. The next leading receiver is Olamide Zaccheaus with 54 yards. That's your second leading wide receiver. And then that's it. The next guy isn't even over 50 yards. This is through 3 games with a quarterback that's thrown for the 10th most yards in the history of this game in Matt Ryan. Long story short, Falcons brought in Brown for a workout and didn't sign him. They're starving for a wide receiver. Now, I firmly believe in trust your own evaluations, but if he didn't even get signed to the practice squad for the Atlanta Falcons, maybe it was on him. Maybe he says, I see this garbage. I don't want to play here. And it may have been on him. But if the Falcons aren't signing this guy, he cannot possibly play for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, not really the biggest thing. At least you don't want to bring him in. We got Dave from Georgia. He's asked a few times.
I'm sorry. I just stepped on you. Tight end. So we're talking receivers, the wide receiver position. Pitts is the third leading receiver. He's got 11 catches for 139 yards. But I was talking, and the second leading receiver is running back Cordero Patterson. So, but as far as receivers go, the second leading receiver has 50 yards in 3 games. So,
yeah, not great.
And they didn't sign John Brown or offer him a contract, best I know.
Not great. Dave from Georgia asking about JT Daniels from Georgia as a draft pick. I'm a tools guy when it comes to the quarterback, at least for the beginning eyeball test. There's a reason. One of the reasons that I wasn't so big on Mac Jones. Now, obviously, he could still be successful, but it's a foot in the door conversation for me when it comes to the quarterbacks. You have the big guy with the big arm. And then after that, it's the work ethic, the intelligence, making the right read, accuracy, etc. I just don't see the tools from JT Daniels. I think he can be maybe a day 2 pick, and a game manager type, which that maybe I'm disparaging JT Daniels right now for you, Dave. I don't want to do that. Let me just put this into, I think Georgia's the best team in college football right now. They're just incredible right now. They're killing teams. I can't wait for Georgia Bama. But JT Daniels, not my type of quarterback. I probably wouldn't be looking to bring or use a draft capital on him personally.
And I haven't watched them a ton yet, to be honest with you. I will as they start playing some more interesting games. I think they were up 35-0 on Vanderbilt, and their leading passer had like 125 yards, and their leading rusher had like 70 yards. Basically, they had 10 guys that all did that against Vanderbilt. They just haven't played a lot of it. I watched them both. Actually, that's not true. It was just really forgettable. I watched them against Clemson.
Yeah.
And the two offenses struggled so badly in that game that if that was the only game you watched, you would write off both quarterbacks, and that's too small a sample size. So I'm not ready to give up on those guys for sure. Lawrence Rivera came in with the Stars a little bit earlier, and you'll have to put this in here if you were talking about the wide receivers, big receiver. I love big receivers. So we need someone big that can use his body to truck someone. We got the cash. Could be talking about running back. Could be talking about a lot of things in this sport. I'm a fan I'm a big fan of the big wide receivers. Like I said, you see that one play to Tim Patrick up the right flank, and he's open because he's big. One-on-one coverage, throw it up and see what happens. But appreciate the contribution.
Yeah,
Shane I wanted to get back in earlier too. Let me find the Stars. Stars are a little bit harder to find. Takes me a little bit of work. So apologize. I missed you guys at the Mile High Huddle meetup, and I missed you guys too. We've been doing this a while, and like I said, we're gonna make this happen. I'm gonna get out there next time because I miss meeting everybody. I've been part of these online communities for so long. I know how important they can be, and it's fun to get up and meet people face to face. So we'll make that happen next time. Appreciate you, Shane. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Want to get out there. You guys come to Seattle next year. Let's hang out in Seattle. I know the Broncos play in Seattle, as long as doesn't fall on a wedding, which I have a bunch next year, including my sister. So can't miss that one, guys. Unfortunately, not unfortunately. Love you, Alyssa. But Jay, I want to get to this one real quick. Which receiver will be on Teddy's hit list for terrible throws? I think Jay's just trying to bait here. But I want to say there's obviously the throw that got KJ Hamler injured, which was soft contact, right? He didn't get absolutely creamed, but he came down weird. But there was a throw in the exact same area of the field, similar looking route to Tim Patrick that Tim Patrick came out with, and it was a beautiful throw. And you're hoping your guy to go up there and get it. That's football sometimes, right? Like that's just going to happen. So I don't know. This talk about Teddy Bridgewater and hospital balls, not for me. Not about it. I don't know what's going on there. Was it a bad decision? Yes, but I've seen hospital balls. I've watched Iowa Hawkeyes quarterbacks over the last few seasons. I've seen them many times. A lot of times they are just the wide receiver can't even make a play on them. I would not put that in there though.
No, the definition of a hospital ball is leading somebody into a big hit, not throwing a jump ball and having somebody come down wrong. Was it a bad decision? Yeah. Was it a bad throw? Yeah. Was it a hospital ball? No, absolutely not. The way I described it earlier was that would basically be like blaming a shooting guard for missing a three-pointer and your power forward goes up for a rebound and comes down and twists his knee. It was his fault. He shouldn't have missed a shot, or he should have passed it harder. That's nonsense. What are we going to what are you going to tell guys? Not to jump up for contested balls? Is that your solution to this? Is don't jump up for contested balls. The ball's in the air and you're in traffic. Don't go up and get it because you might get hurt. Yeah, that's nonsense. Anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of the hospital balls too are a lot of times it's over the middle of the field. It's a crosser with an overhang linebacker or safety, and they come and they just kill them. It's not that whole shot.
What we think of as hospital balls have basically the hits that occur from those have basically been made illegal in the NFL. You're not allowed to just run into a guy who's focused on the ball. That's illegal now. You're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Go punch up Steve Atwater highlights and you'll see what hospital balls look like because he was on the delivering end of the pain that you can inflict on a ball when you lead somebody into a defensive back or a linebacker.
Yeah. And if you have an issue with the 5'9" receiver for that call, take it up with Shermer, honestly, because he designed that. That's a cover 2 beater right there. That's the whole shot where it's in between the flat defender and the 2 safety overhang on that side. And that's where the ball should go. Now, granted, not enough time, not enough zip. Should have made that throw. Yes, but I totally disagree. Bad throw, but I just think.
Yeah, and I'll go with Jeremy on this one. Was it a bad throw? Yeah. Was it a bad decision? Yeah. Is that why KJ Hamler's hurt? No. That's football. It happens.
Yep. And I remember, I don't know if you probably didn't watch, but Broncos country will remember there was a big debate on, it would have been 2018 when the Broncos played the Chiefs and Case Keenum threw a terrible ball that the Broncos could have won, and everyone was like, "Oh, why did Demaryius Thomas slow down?" It's cover 2. He's throttling down for the space. Otherwise, he's going to run right into that safety in case Keenum just throws it almost essentially out of bounds. Like that's the spot where you got to throw that ball. So it's just, not everybody has to know coverage. It's fine, but that's the thing.
And Kiako, appreciate the shout out. I know how much you mean to this community and how much you mean to the Mile High Huddle guys. And I got to see you at least on the gut reaction on there. So I'm glad I got to get to see you, even if I didn't get to meet you in person or meet all of y'all in person. And Brandon Reagan coming in and says, what do you think it would take to get Sterling Shepard from the Giants? And Nick would be better at this than me. As far as what is the going rate for a number 1 wide receiver? Because Sterling Shepard, I believe, is a number 1. He's
I love
he's a number 1. So, what does it take to get him? He's probably 5 years into it. So he was about 27, 28, still in his prime. And a legit number 1 receiver who can make the contested catch, who can run after the catch, can make the hard. He can do it all. He's just a great wide receiver. What would it cost you to get a number 1 wide receiver in his prime? It's going to start with at least a first-round draft pick, don't you think?
Oh, for Sterling Shepard and his big contract with his injury history, I was going to say a 2. I mean, we know how if it's not a quarterback. I mean, CJ Henderson just went for a 3, so Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, but there's somebody they're saying we missed on this guy. He sucks. We don't want him anymore, and he's a problem. Take him, please.
Yeah, that's part of it. I think you're more likely talking about a late second or an early third type of situation for Sterling. Also, just because his contract is big now. Granted, none of his guarantees will carry over, so whatever team would get him would have just the base salary and the roster bonus and whatnot, and that gives them a lot of leverage as far as negotiating a new contract or moving on.
He'll turn 29 before next season too, so getting on in years, but not too bad. But
he's great though. I love Sterling Shepard. If he was available and Jerry Jeudy, let's say Jerry Jeudy's ankle is messed up and the Broncos are like 5-2 or something like that at the trade deadline, and the Giants are out of it, I would be all about Sterling Shepard.
He doesn't have quite the production that you might expect, but part of that I put on the New York Giants offense. He's got a 700 yards, 870 yards, only 656 last year, but only played in 12 games. But I think here's what you're talking about, Nick. Here's the one that's scary for his 6 years in the NFL. Excuse me. Games started 16, 10, 16, 10, 12.
Yep.
So he's missed an entire season over the course of his 6 years with injuries. So yeah, I think you're probably right about that for sure. I don't watch him enough that when I do see him, I'm like, wow, that guy's really good. But I could just be he is really good, but is he dependable enough for a number 1 type of draft pick? Probably not. I agree with you on that one. Thank you.
And the issue with that is the contract as well. He's got, I think, 3 years after this also. And it's a decent sum, and you already have Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. Are you making your bed going with those guys instead, or are you going to cut him after trading a high draft pick for him? I don't know, but if you're going for it this year, you think really good about it, and Judy's ankle is still off, it's an issue. And Jay, I think, didn't Judy's issue come after the catch with his ankle issue happening? So I don't know what's going on with the comments up there. But I do want to talk a little bit of Ravens, just dipping our toe in it a little bit. We're going to save the best for Thursday morning when we're talking the Ravens, but I shared a stat with you before you and Chad, before the live stream kicked off, is that Lamar Jackson right now, what an amazing statistic, leading the NFL right now, yards per carry, yards per completion. I mean, that's insane. That's
the dream, isn't it? Isn't that the dream? When you got a mobile quarterback, isn't that the dream? I mean, he's running the ball when you need it, and he's making the long throws. He's pretty talented, and there's some inconsistencies in his game, but when he's on, he's the best player in the NFL. when he's hot, when he's on form, as we like to say, then he's pretty dangerous.
Yep. And I saw somebody also asking earlier, what does it sound like for the Broncos guard situations with Breisner suffering the foot injury? He was in a boot after the game. And I think Glasgow had a hip injury. I think it's a hip. It's possible that neither of those guys play this week, which is an issue because you have to go up against a Calais Campbell and a banged up, but still effective Derek Wolfe. So It's going to be interesting to see what happens there with the Broncos, especially because the interior offensive line was already struggling, and you're going from Glasgow and Reisner, who were doing better in pass pro than run blocking, and Moody was pretty good last week also. I think he's coming into his own, but it could be an issue, and with how much Wink Martindale loves to blitz, probably the highest rate of blitzing and cover zero in the NFL. The offensive line is going to have to know what their assignment.
50 sitcom name.
Wink Martindale. I think he was the Broncos defensive coordinator there for a little bit too, back in the Shanahan days. But no, they're going to have to be really in sync and understand what their projections are on their assignments, because they like to overload the offensive line with their blitzes. And Teddy's been amazing under pressure. And if they're playing cover zero, you have one-on-one routes with either Cortland Sutton or Tim Patrick outside, throw those up. But it'll be a really interesting matchup to see what the Broncos offensive line does. They need to run the ball more efficiently. I don't know if this is the week that it's going to happen, but that's probably my biggest complaint. It's so great not to be bitching and moaning about quarterback anymore. I mean, we still kind of do, but it's not always well, it doesn't even matter because the quarterback. But the offensive line, interior offensive line, the run game has to be much more efficient.
Yeah, and we said going in last week, based on the team you were playing against, the run game was going to get better, and it did. I haven't dived deep enough into how Baltimore is winning and losing these games, or playing the Detroit Lions so close, to see, and I'll watch that game tomorrow ahead of Thursday's Broncos for breakfast to get an idea of how they can be beaten. But you could tell right away, the way the Jets line up their defense, that this was going to be the game where the running game started doing more. And like I said, I think if the Broncos felt like they needed points, they would have been more aggressive.
Yeah.
You win 26-0, you can keep kicking field goals. Gee, why am I going to put the ball in the air and do something stupid? I'll take my 3 points and extend my lead. So it was a dominating performance.
And I do want to, I know every game in the NFL, nothing's guaranteed, but once this game seemed like it was pretty obvious that the Jets were overmatched, the Broncos red zone play calling, a lot of people were criticizing Shurmur for that. Why would he need to show his hand, right? Your red zone plays need to be those money makers. This is one that's going to break something. We haven't shown it yet. And we're going to guarantee points. Quarterback, this guy's going to be open. Quarterback, go here. There's no reason to show that. If you're winning by so much and you can just do a simple, outside zone stretch,
the bread and butter that every team runs.
You don't have to show your hand. This is a sad Jets team. So I think that criticism of Shurmur was greatly overstated. It's not really understanding the situation.
I told y'all before that it reminds me a little bit of Auburn's 2000 whatever team it was that went undefeated, and Tommy Tuberville got the name Tubershell because he'd get up, get early, and then just basically let off and let his defense and running game do the work. And that's how dominant that Denver has been in the first 3 games. They've done the same things. We're going to get up. We're going to let our defense and running game win the game. We'll just grind this thing out. We don't need style points. That's for egos. So
yeah, and some people, I've heard some conversation that's why the Broncos' run game efficiency numbers have been bad, because they're running the fourth quarter and teams know they're running it. I did look at it, running success rate with only the first, second, and third quarter. And the Broncos still are 26th in the NFL, 24th in the NFL in run success rate. So
part of that scheme,
better, but
like I said, part of that scheme, what is your total offense doing? You still have to show enough to keep people honest. And if they're going to try and stack to stop the run, then Teddy Bridgewater in the passing game becomes an extension. That short passing game becomes an extension of the running game. Mm-hmm. So, I'd be interested. There's stats for everything. So I'd want to look at, what are Teddy's numbers? It's got to be high because he's completing about 80% of his passes. But what are his numbers on passes, on targets under 4 yards, under 3 yards from the line of scrimmage? He's probably hitting 90%. That is basically a handoff.
Yeah, no, you're correct there. And I wanted to find, just talking about Shurmur right now. I know a big conversation last season about Shurmur not making an offense that was good for Locke and whatnot, and utilizing more play action. The Broncos so far this season have, but Pat Shurmur does not use tight ends. They're top 10 and 12 personnel. They're number 1 in the NFL in 13 personnel, using 3 tight ends out there. So poof, that one's gone. And also, I think, the only team in the NFL running play action on early downs, more than 50% of dropbacks, are the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos have used play action more than any other team in the NFL. Maybe Shurmur finally got the message. I don't understand. I mean, it's kind of harder to run play action constantly when you have these teams starting to mimic the Broncos schematically, where they are showing the 2 deep safeties and then changing at the snap. So obviously, if the quarterback's doing play action, they're back to the line of scrimmage, and then the last they saw was 2 safeties, and then by the time they come back around, it's completely different. That's one of the reasons that makes Vic Fangio's defense so brilliant, especially against a passing game. But really, I mean, Shermer's been good this year. Teddy Bridgewater gets a lot of credit, but I think Shermer deserves maybe an apology from Broncos country as well. And I'm sure that he's grown and learned as well. And having a second year with these guys, a non-pandemic year where they can install an offense actually together. But it's, I think he deserves an apology from Broncos country.
Well, and I just want everybody to remember every time that we ask, who's a key player? Who's a key player on offense that you need to look out for? When we ask that to the chat, 7 names pop up. So there's a lot of talented players on this team, and the ball is going to get spread around a lot. I'm looking at it right now as far as Denver receiving targets right now. You only had to throw the ball 25 times, and there were 8 different targets, and no one had more than 5. No one player had more than 5 targets against the Jets. So you're still using players. You're using them fairly equally because you've got a quarterback that can spread the ball around, and you got people all over the place. Makes for a crappy fantasy team. I can't pick anybody on the Denver Broncos for fantasy except maybe Teddy Bridgewater and hopefully one of the running backs, but it sure makes for a good offense when you can spread the ball around like that.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people were on him about the last game, and rightfully so, but Noah Fant, buddy, it's time. You are a first-round pick at tight end. You're a team that you've lost wide receivers left and right so far. And this is a team that wants to utilize the tight end, right? So Noah Fant, you got to play better, buddy. I'm an Iowa homer through and through for sure. I took off my fan hat for the Broncos and put on one for the 2 hats for the Hawkeyes at that point. But Fant's got to play better, so that the onus is on him. He's talking about fantasy there. And the one last thing I wanted to get to before we get on out of here, just a little preview, and we can obviously change our mind. Guys, come back Thursday to dive more into this for Broncos for Breakfast. What are the Broncos? What does Vic Fangio do with Lamar Jackson?
I picture a parachute, like a big net. It's like, you're not going to beat us wide because we're going to be like a 3-point line around the goal. That's kind of how I picture this defense. You're not going to beat us long, and you're not going to beat us wide. If you want to try and get 4 or 5 yards at a time up the middle, fine. We're going to hit you. We're going to hit you, and we're going to make you earn it and make you not want to come through there. And just don't get beat by the big play. Make them the bend but don't break makes a lot of sense against a guy like Lamar Jackson. Before we get out of here, Naj coming in. Says Naj coming in with, "Hey brothers, just tuned in. Hope all is well. With Hamler's speed being his greatest asset, how do you think this impact him long term?" Obviously, we don't know how bad the damage is, but I think this is a much more devastating injury to a player like Hamler than it is to Courtland Sutton. You lose 5% of your quickness and acceleration and your change of direction when you're 6'4". It's not as big a deal. When you lose 5% of it, when you are a speed type of receiver, 5% can be the difference between being a number 1 draft pick and a number 7 draft pick. When you start looking at the combine numbers, where kids start coming out that are 5'11" or 5'10" in that range. So this one scares me. I'm scared. I'm upset for him. I was watching. I saw it. We talked a little bit this morning, right before we came on. I was watching. It's coming. I didn't remember what play it was or what quarter it was. And you see that ball go up. And you see him come down, and he grabs his knee and goes down, and it makes you sick to your stomach. I'm sick to my stomach for KJ Hamler, and I hope he gets better and gets back out there very quickly. As quickly as possible. Obviously, it's going to be a year. It's going to be a year for sure. Appreciate you, Naj.
Yeah, thanks so much, Naj. I heard you were at the tailgate as well, so sorry we missed you, but appreciate your contribution to the chat and the community as a whole. I think the big thing for Lamar Jackson before we get on out of here is that he is incredible, no doubt about it, and he's probably the most unique quarterback. Is the most unique quarterback in football right now, and I think a big thing for the Broncos is the offense has to come out hot. They cannot come out and, sputter 3-and-out punt. If the Broncos can come out hot, get a lead, it really makes the job 10 times easier for the offense, because then you can start to make the opposing offense at least somewhat one-dimensional. And one thing I'm not as worried about with the Broncos is they are a zone-based defense. So at least, Lamar Jackson, what you really worry about with those scrambling quarterbacks is when you're in man and your coverage guys are not. You have like one guy who's like paying attention to the quarterback, eyes in the backfield, and everybody else is focused on their man coverage guy. Not really the case with the zone defense, right? All the guys' eyes going to be facing Lamar Jackson. You can rally to the football in that case.
And
So
James, we lost connection right now where I can't show the chat's not coming in on this end. So I just went ahead and copied it over where we could just say, so appreciate the stars on this. And it's James, that's a good point. He says, I think we got to contain him like we did Cam in Super Bowl 50. Exactly. Keep him in front of you. Ben, you hate the phrase bend, but don't break.
Not me.
Almost.
I love it.
Almost as much as you hate the word prevent. I hate prevent defenses, obviously. But I think it's the right thing to do. If a quarterback's gonna beat you with his legs, make him earn it. They're not all built like Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow liked going 5 yards and hitting somebody. Lamar Jackson, most running quarterbacks aren't gonna like that, and it'll slow them down and it'll affect their passing game. So absolutely, you can, and it's much easier said than done, obviously. Yeah. Contain Lamar Jackson, win the game. That it sounds real easy, doesn't it? It's not. It's not. But Broncos have an awful lot of talent and speed, more importantly, on defense to get it done.
Yep. My biggest thing is score points early, and that's you talk about Super Bowl 50. I don't think people appreciate enough how much game flow impacted that game. Broncos were up 10-0 like that.
Turn them into a passer.
Yep.
Take away. Make them obvious. Good call.
Yep, exactly. So, guys, went a little bit long today, but we appreciate you. Obviously, you can find Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy, as you guys can see on the screen. But I got to let you guys know for the people who are listening after the fact. We know we got the podcast folks out there that are busy, can't join us right now. That's fine. You can follow me also on Twitter at Nick Kendall MHH. Guys, make sure you're also following us at BTB Football Pod and at Mile High Huddle. Facebook folks, follow us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And YouTube folks, subscribe, like, and share. Make sure you're joining us when we are live. And also, everybody, make sure you're following Scott's channel on YouTube as well. Didn't call that one out earlier. I apologize, Scott. But make sure you go to youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. And I'm going to drop his sub link in the chat as well. Didn't go to Facebook because Facebook is freaking out, I guess. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. Come on, Mark Zuckerberg. God.
I blame your internet.
Yeah, blame my internet. There we go. I'll take it. Just
if Teddy had thrown that ball harder, this wouldn't be happening.
Okay, I think we have to leave on that one. Thanks to everybody.
Jay, we love you too. I appreciate. I'm just teasing, Jay. I appreciate you too.
We have to razz a little bit, right? It's not really a good community unless you have some good-natured ribbon going on. But we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys on Scott's channel tomorrow morning if anybody wants to join for some falafel Falcons or whatever we want to call it in the morning. French toast Falcons.
It's all Falcons.
Falcons, deep fried Falcons. And then we'll see you guys Thursday morning for another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. Everyone stay safe, have fun, enjoy the Broncos being 3-0 right now, right? Like, geez, this is rare, right? We haven't had this right for a while. And a lot of people are like, oh, they haven't played anybody or like getting upset about it. Like, you've beat these teams handily. Injuries suck, but you're 3-0. This is rare. Enjoy it. If you can't enjoy this, then I don't know what we're doing, right? Like, so enjoy it. Have fun.
There's some truth. Broncos. There's some truth to that, though. Mike just came in. He's got the Alabama avatar. I went to Auburn. I was a big college football fan, and there's certain times when your teams in college football are supposed to win, and I was like, I don't enjoy when they win because it's like they should have won more. We needed a better victory, and I'm miserable when they lose. I need a new hobby. I need something else to do, and that's when I poured myself into the job part of things and stopped being so much a fan of the football. So if you're not enjoying yourself now, go fishing.
Or do both. But just enjoy the moment, guys. It's a fun season. Teddy's a great guy to cheer for. This seems like a fun team. This city's needed it. It's a good time to be a Bronco fan. And also first place in the AFC West, looking down on the last place Kansas City Chiefs. Enjoy it. We'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.